Om Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavadvyaptadehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Apyayantu mamangani Vakpranaschakshushrotramatho balamindriyani cha sarvani Sarvam Brahma Upanishadam Maham Brahma Nirakuryam Mama Brahma Nirakarot Anirakaranamastvanirakaranam me astu Tadatmani nirateya upanishatsu dharmaste mayi santu te mayi santu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We are looking at a detailed version of analysis of sleep. Sleep becomes an important illustration for moksha. Temporary moksha, no doubt, because you wake up to that same mind, the same mind that went to sleep wakes up. What is that mind? Complaining mind. That is alone what wakes up. But nonetheless, sleep analysis, the analysis of sleep, becomes a stand-in for explaining moksha in the most, in the most concrete way, because sleep is a universal experience. It's not there, and then there is no difference. There is not a different Chinese sleep versus American sleep versus Indian sleep. As I said yesterday, the sleep of the sadhu is the same as the sleep of the robber. Same thing. Same exact sleep. So, therefore, because it's a universal experience, the Upanishad milks a lot out of this sleep analysis. And in all the Upanishads we find this. And in fact, the Avasthatraya Prakriya in the, what is that called? Mandukya Upanishad, there is a lot there talked about in the analyzing the sleep. Also in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, in the Yajnavalkya and Janaka dialogues, that there is a total, very detailed analysis of sleep. Na tatra rathaha, meaning the undifferentiated, that everything is going back to the source which is here called Sat. The source elsewhere is called Atma by many names, Bhuma, Atma, all these names we need, because even while studying, one gets jaded. One gets totally jaded. As soon as you hear the word Atma, what happens? Check out. One checks out. Starts to have manorajya. Manorajya means daydreaming. So suddenly, therefore, in the 7th chapter, in the very next chapter, the Atma is known as Bhuma. Suddenly what? Bhuma? Oh, I don't know Bhuma. I know Atma, but I don't know Bhuma. It is all to shake up the understanding so that one is not taking anything for granted. So here too, the sleep is analyzed in two ways. And this is why we suspended some of the bhashya earlier, because yesterday what we studied was one of the ways in which sleep is analyzed. How sleep is analyzed as a return to one's swarupa, which is what described here as Sat. Sat Swarupa one returns to. Why? Because devoid of the upadhi. Don't say in sleep also I have upadhi. You have, but are you identified with it? That's the question. No. So devoid of the upadhi means devoid of the identity with the identification with the upadhi. That I-ness connected to the body is not there, and then the my-ness connected to the body is not there. And as we saw, the three kinds of tadatmya. Maybe there is a little bit of sahaja tadatmya, because if somebody, damshaka, the biting thing bites, mosquito, etc., one does wake up. But so little bit of sahaja tadatmya, enough to protect the body, little bit may be there, but definitely no other form of identification with the body exists. So this is the analysis of sleep that we saw yesterday from the standpoint of the Shastra. So there is no upadhi, and meaning there is no identification with the upadhi. When the upadhi identification goes down, what does one see? Identification with Sat. A natural identification with Sat, which is one's source. So in a sense, the sleep experience means one has gone back, as it were, reverted back, and one is one with oneself. Swam apito bhavati. Swam apito bhavati. Meaning one is, in a nice way, full of oneself. Filled up with oneself, full of oneself is one, because there is no other, all the names and forms and the identifications thereof have been suspended in this state called sleep. There is no outer jagat in the form of rathaha, rathinaha, all these things described in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. There are no chariots, there are no charioteers, there is no road, there is no driver, there is no rider, nothing is there. And so like this, it is devoid of differentiation. So the outer jagat is definitely not there, because I am not transacting. There is no vyapara, there is no transaction with the so-called outer jagat. This outer inner is also another bluff. But for the time being, we can go along with it. So I am not transacting with chariots and charioteers, which are what? Outside. And then outside means, from the standpoint of this body, mind, sense complex, outside, external. I'm not transacting with the external world of names and forms, and I'm not conducting any business with the internal world of names and forms, or internalized world of names and forms. There also there is nothing. The thought world is not there, the thought jagat is not there, and in fact the jagat is really what? Thought jagat. Ultimately we have to say that. The jagat is, where is the jagat? Where it is cognized. Where is the jagat cognized? Right here. Jagataha upalabdhi sthanam. So the upalabdhi sthanam, where the jagat obtains, where the jagat is cognized, is what? It's all in the buddhi. In the buddhi, in the mind alone, the jagat is cognized. And so therefore, this inner world about the ways in which I edit the jagat, abridge the jagat, punctuate the jagat. And how do I do that? With my arsenal of raga dvesha. I edit the jagat. I proofread the jagat. So how? The raga dvesha becomes the highlighter, the one that crosses, and the one that has to put some, different punctuation marks, the one that adds paragraph after paragraph. This is the mind in relation to how those impressions are received, edited, abridged, and elongated, and subjectively understood. So this Jagat in the form of the grahanam of any kind is not there. So there is total agrahanam, and when there is total agrahanam, anyatha grahanam is also suspended. That is also not possible. So this is the Brahmavidaha. So the of the people who are Brahmavids, their understanding of the sleep state. This is the understanding of the Shruti, how the Shruti presents as the sleep state, and this becomes a very important example, illustration to show what? That all that is here is only Sat. And what is this Sat? I am this Sat. Because in sleep, where am I? With Sat. So that means in waking I am without Sat? No, in waking also I am Sat alone. I am Sat Swarupaha in waking also. Waking also I am Sat Swarupaha. But then what else is there along with Sat? Mind is there. Ahankara is there. Wrong identifications are there. The so-called duality in the form of the Jagat is there. The objective Jagat, to the extent we can say that, is there. And the subjective interpretation of the Jagat is there. Why did this one do that to me? Why did that one did not do that to me? All the guilt, the hurt, the pain, the sorrow, sukha dukkha lakshana, as we saw, all that is there. And so, this is our regular Anvaya Vyatireka. Sukha Dukkha is there when? In the waking state. Dream state also. But here we'll just keep it very simple for this Anvaya Vyatireka methodology. Sukha Dukkha is there in waking, and then where else is it not there? In sleep, Sukha Dukkha. There is a cessation of Sukha Dukkha in sleep. And then, what else is there? What is the invariable presence that observes this? I am there. I am there means what? This Sat Swarupa. The one with Sat is there, completely identified with Sat is there. And what is not there? Sukha Dukkha is not there. And when the identification from Sat slips and migrates to the identification with the body-mind-sense complex, slips means in one's awareness. It doesn't really slip. One is Sat all the time. But just to talk about it, we have to say, when the awareness that I am Sat is not there, when that identification with Sat is as though displaced, not really displaced, as it were displaced by what? By the various impressions, etc., that are gathered, and the various wrong understandings of the Jagat and everything. What is there? Sorrow and strife and conflict are there. So what is the cause of sorrow and conflict and strife? Not identifying with Sat. Not knowing that my true identity is Sat. So, Sat Swarupa is there in sleep. No cessation of samsara. Samsara uparati is there. Sat Swarupa is not there. Not there means what? I am not aware of this. When I am not aware of this, what is there? Sukha Dukkha, samsara is there. So what is the cause of samsara? By Anvaya Vyatireka method, the method of the invariable concomitance. So what is there? What is there in the waking state? Sukha Dukkha is there. So what is the cause of Sukha Dukkha? Don't say waking state. Yeah. Identification with everything that is finite. like the body, the mind, etc., and not knowing I am this infinite Sat, the source from which everything has come, that is Sukha Dukkha Lakshana, Sukha Dukkha Karana. So this is the first analysis of sleep that we saw yesterday in great detail. This is the analysis of Vidvans, Vidvat analysis, Shruti's analysis. And now, and we also saw the other example. What is the other example? Of the tired bird. Why is the bird tired? Because poor thing, one leg is caught in the string. By who? Bad boy, bird catcher. The bird catcher, bird hunter, maybe they do this. They used to do this in India. Maybe they still do it. So what are they called? Poachers, bird poachers. So the exotic birds like parrots and all, they will just catch them, tame them, make them talk, and then cage them and sell them. Or maybe for more worse purposes, maybe they eat them also, I don't know. But anyhow, so the bird catcher has either tied the bird to a post or a tree with one leg, one string on the leg and the other string to some post, or the bird catcher is holding, even worse, holding the string in one hand, and then the bird, poor restless and anguished bird, what does it do? It goes all over. And we saw this yesterday, but then we have to connect it to what came previously, and purposely I had suspended that so we can look at the other understanding of sleep. What is that? That is the Vidvat analysis of sleep, that is the Shruti's analysis of sleep, and then this analysis of sleep is whose analysis of sleep? The common person's experience of sleep. The lay person's experience of sleep. Before we go further into analyzing this example, we have to ask the very important and pertinent question. And what is this salient question? Why are we interested in the Ajna's interpretation of sleep? We are more interested in the Jnani's understanding of sleep. Why? Because we are Jnani wannabes. We are a wannabe Jnani. I want to be a Jnani, one can say. And so, because of that, I want to know what is the Shruti's interpretation of sleep. But here, the Shruti, which is full of surprises, what does she do? She gives us the interpretation of sleep by the Ajnani. The one who doesn't know one's nature, what is the cause of that person's sleep, and then what is the interpretation of the Ajnani's sleep, and how does that sleep come about for the Ajnani, and what does that sleep serve to do? This is very, very important an analysis. It is unique to this Upanishad. Now here is a Apurvata, example of Apurvata. This is unique to the Upanishad because even though all other Upanishads analyze sleep very, very, in a very, detailed manner, but here focusing on the sleep which is as the Adi Shankara will say, Loke Prasiddham. Loke Prasiddham, famous in the world. And what is famous in the world? This Ajnani's experience of sleep becomes something very important for the one who wants to be Ajnani, because the lakshanas, the characteristics of the Ajnani's sleep become an impetus for me to gain Atma Jnanam. Why? Because the Ajnani's sleep is where? Is just a temporary cessation of pain and sorrow. And what do I want? Permanent cessation of, not the pain and sorrow, permanent cessation of the notion I am in pain and sorrow. That is what I want. And so the Ajnani's experience of sleep becomes a very interesting contrast to the Jnani's understanding. The Shruti first gives the Jnani's understanding of sleep, how everything goes back to Sat, and being devoid of the identification with the body-mind-sense complex, the person rests in as oneself. But what is the problem? Does not know that. That's why yesterday there was a satsang question. What was that? I'm already with Sat. Why should I? In sleep, I'm already with Sat. I'm one with Sat. And then why should I get up, first of all? Why should I get up? I need not get up, because if I'm always asleep, then I'm always in what? Moksha. Yes, I'm always in moksha. But the prarabdha won't let you sleep. So the question of why should I get up is not relevant, because whether you want to get up or not, you will get up. Sometimes it happens. And it happens frequently that Monday to Friday, working, and Saturday you say no alarms, no devices, everything far away. It's my day off. Nobody is going to wake me. I'm going to sleep till noon. I'm so tired. And what happens to that sankalpa? Short-lived sankalpa, because somehow you end up waking at the same time, whether you want it or not, or maybe you don't want to wake up at the same time. Some interruption will be there, some important phone call, somebody ringing the door incessantly. They put their forehead on the bell and stand there, and you have to get up. You have to get up. This is prarabdha. Prarabdha wakes up the person. So therefore, sleep, the sleep itself, the act of going to sleep is again not in your hands. That's why no one can say precisely, I fell asleep at 8:07 p.m. Can you say that? No. The last time you saw the time was 8:07 p.m., but after that what happened, what is the time, you don't know. So therefore, the Ajnani's understanding or limited understanding of the sleep experience becomes an important aberration for the person who wants to gain this Atma Jnanam. So we see the mithyatvam of the sleep state, and we do not look for Vishrama. We do not look for rest. What kind of a rest? Mokshakhya. We don't look for rest called moksha because of the sleep. Just like yesterday's question. So if I'm already asleep, why are you making me get up, first of all? And why should I wake up at Brahma Muhurta and be told, be one with Brahman? Am I already not with Brahman? Yes, you are with Brahman. What is the big difference? You do not know it. You do not know it. Therefore, the waking happens. Why does the waking happen repeatedly? The waking happens, and then repeatedly you re-enter samsara. That means what? Re-enter means what? You were never away from samsara. Little bit of pause button was put by Bhagavan so that you can get back to yourself, so to speak, and then come back and do whatever needs to be done, and then go back to sleep again. So the sleep analysis of the Ajnani is highlighted here in this Shakuni example. But before that itself, Adi Shankara gives a beautiful bhashya which is worth looking at, and explains why the Ajnani's experience of sleep must be studied as an important precursor for Atma Jnanam and the understanding of oneself as ever abiding in Sat. So therefore, what happens to the Jnani? The Jnani need not go to sleep. Jnani is awareful that one is non-separate from Sat even in the waking state. The jnani is already aware, so you don't have to go to sleep. In order to recharge, one is already one with Sat and one knows that. And so, introducing the ajnani's experience of sleep, Adi Shankara says, Katham punaha laukikanam prasiddha swatma sampattihi. Svatma sampattihi, the gaining of oneself, so to speak, the gaining of oneself means the gaining of the oneness with oneself. Katham punaha. How is it interpreted? By who? Laukikaha. Laukikaha means common people in the world, who have not attended Vedanta classes, who don't know anything about Sat and Imaha, Tisraha, Devataha, all this they don't know. They don't know Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, Brahma, they don't know anything. And so, how is the sleep for them? Katham punaha laukikanam prasiddha swatma sampattihi. And then he introduces this whole Shakuni business, the Sutrena Prabadhaha, Shakunihi, means the bird that is tied at the leg. He introduces that very beautifully, that the next section he introduces beautifully by saying, Jagrat Shrama Nimitta Udbhava, means Jagrat Jagrat Shrama Nimitta, Shrama Nimitta means the hetu for the sleep, the cause for the sleep is the exhaustion in the waking state. Jagrat Shrama Nimitta Udbhava. So, therefore, the sleep is, what is the impetus for sleep? What is the cause of sleep? What is the nimitta for sleep? The stress, the strain, and the exhaustion in the waking state is what is the cause of the sleep. So nimitta udbhavatvat swapsye iti ahuhu. So then, therefore, it is said to be sleep. This is what is called sleep. This is what is called, this is what is called sleep. What is sleep? Jagrat Shrama Nimitta Udbhavatvat. The cause of sleep is what? Terrible stress, strain, and exhaustion. What is the cause of this exhaustion? What is the cause of this exhaustion? One's own movements during the day. Look at how busy people are. Even to make a time to have coffee with somebody, what happens? Okay, 8 weeks later. What? You can't have coffee for next 2 months? What kind of a life is this? But that is how the life is. I have things to do, places to go, people to see. And then people identify with themselves as what? I'm a doer. And they feel good about it. They feel great about being a doer. Yes, we have lots to do. I was in a hotel one time taking the elevator to my floor, and there were some big business people who had come to some kind of a convention. They were also going back to their rooms, and then one of them was belonging to one company, the other one was belonging to another company, and so the first one asked the second one, how is it going? And the other one said, it's slow these days. He was honest. It's a little slow these days. And the other one showed off, strutted around and said, not where we are. We are really busy. And then what else is the American expression? Busy is good. We like to keep doing. These are all the things that were said in the elevator. And the other one also tried to save face and said, no, we are also very busy, but we are just going, right, this week is a little low, that's all. Little slow this week, it will pick up. Next week it will pick up. And so this is what the people are used to. Why? Because there is no there is no gain of Shanti. Shanti doesn't mean sleep. And Shanti doesn't mean peace. It means peace. But Shanti is the cessation of discontent. Discontentment is Ashanti. Disturbance is Ashanti. So the absence of discontentment, the absence of what else? The absence of discontentment, the absence of disturbance is in fact the presence of well-being. And what is the word for well-being? Swasthya. Swasthasya bhavaha. Swasthaha. Swasthaha means well in Ayurveda. And there it is, relatively speaking, all the doshas are balanced, the vata is not going haywire, the pitta is not deranged, and then you say the person is swastha. But the literal meaning of swastha means one with oneself. Svetishtati iti swastha. And tasya bhavaha swasthya, swasthyam, wellness, well-beingness. Very interesting. And this is further talked about, this is further underscored in the third Yoga Sutra, Drashtuhu Swarupe Avasthanam. Avasthanam, abiding in the nature of the seer. Seer means what? Hearer, thinker, all the various morphings. Abiding in the nature of the seer. And who is the seer? The eye of the eye, the ear of the ear, as explained by the Kenopanishad. The seer is not the one who sees and gets angry, gets upset with whatever the person saw. But here, the real seer is because of which one sees, because of which one becomes a hearer, because of whose presence one becomes a hearer, thinker, seer, eater, drinker, sleeper, waker, dreamer. But that because of which all these changes in identity and status takes place, but that which is completely asanga from those changes. So in other words, what is there? The eye of the eye is also the ear of the ear. Shrotrasya shrotram is also what? Chakshushash chakshuhu. Manaso manaha. Sau pranasya pranaha. It's not that the eye of the eye, what is described in the Kenopanishad as the eye of the eye, is different from the ear of the ear. Oh, that's the ear of the ear. This is the eye of the eye. No. It's that same conscious entity which is here called as what? Sat. That Swarupa, that Sat, which makes one into seer, hearer, thinker, eater, sleeper, waker, dreamer, etc., but which does not take on those identities, which is completely asanga, uninvolved in those identities. And so what does it do? It's simply the illuminer of the various statuses and our identification with those statuses, rather than it is the cause of those statuses. It is the illuminer of various statuses. And then, just like the sun, which illumines everything. So, like, the sun illumines everything, and then it illumines some robbers planning a bank heist, sitting under tree number 1. And what is happening under tree number 2? Some people are having Bhagavad Gita home study. Both are illumined. Both are illumined. So the kukarma, the wrong karma, adharmic karma of planning a bank robbery is also illumined. And then the punya karma of Gita, studying the Gita together under another tree is also illumined. Does the sun get the punya and get associated with the punya? No. Does the sunlight get associated with the papa? No. And the same thing, the sunlight falls on the Ganga water, right? And then what happens? You see the sun there reflected nicely. The same sunlight goes and falls on some ditch water running in the open sewage by some slum. Does the sunlight get affected? No. This is illustrated very nicely in the Manisha Panchakam. King Gangambuni Bimbite Ambaramanau Chandalavati Payafpure Antaramasti. Is there a difference between the sunlight, which is the sun which is reflected in the Ganga, or the sun that is reflected in the backwaters in some small tenement? No difference. And so like this, here too, the Sat is Sat alone. The Sat simply reveals, what does it reveal? The frantic machinations of this jiva trying to come home. Except they don't know what home is. Except they do not know where to go, so they keep thinking, this will give me moksha, this will give me moksha. Moksha means freedom from longing. This will make me free. All I need is to do this and then I will be okay. I need to become rich, and for that many actions are unleashed. I need to become clever. I need to become famous. I need to be married. I need to have a job. I need to have children. I need to do this. I need to do that. And then what happens to this person? This person, shramayati, gets exhausted, gets completely exhausted. Why? Because jagarite hi punya nimitta sukha dukkhadi aneka ayasa anubhavat shranto bhavati. In the waking state alone, why? Because in the waking state alone one is both karta and bhokta, doer and experiencer. In fact, the reason for doing is what? To experience. Bhokaya sarvam karma. All karma is for the sake of experiencing. Nobody says, I'm cooking. Why? For the sake of cooking. No. Cooking is for eating. And so, our cooking is for eating. And the same thing we see, 5 days a week, work, to get 2 days off. The whole year, work, to get 2 weeks off. Whole life, work, to get the rest of the life off. At least that's the attempt. So therefore, here, jagarite hi, in the waking state alone, what is possible? That this punya nimitta. So the sukha and dukkha caused by punya and apunya. What is apunya? Polite way of saying papa. So punya nimitta sukha dukkhadi aneka ayasa anubhavat. So Adi Shankara says the cause of tiredness is not just doing too much during the day, but why are you doing so much? You are doing that for a sense of fulfillment. And that fulfillment doesn't come. Instead, one gets trapped in the samsara, reproducing samsara each and every day, all the time reproducing samsara. One is completely hooked on to that. Why? Sukha dukkhadi aneka anubhavat. Because there are so many experiences. And sukha dukkha again is very euphemistic, polite shruti. Usually it is what? Mostly dukkha, little bit sukha. Pujya Swamiji used to illustrate this very well. Dukhi Sukhi, Dukhi, Sukhi. Like this. He used to say, he would elongate it even more, but I can't do that. So, and he would set the word Dukhi in various ragas, and then he would chant that, and then he would quickly say Sukhi, and then again go back to Dukhi in another raga. And so that, because what we are talking about, even though it says Sukha Dukkhadi Lakshana, it is not just Sukha and Dukkha. Because if Sukha came and then Dukkha came and then after Dukkha I know what is coming is Sukha, then it's not a problem. It is mostly Dukkha. Oh, come on, life is not so bad. Agreed, life is not so bad. But my ajnanam and agrahanam and anyatha grahanam make it bad. Make it bad, because I am not in acceptance of what is. What is this Sat? And Sat, variegated Sat, in the form of my own karma. A differentiated Sat, and as though differentiated Sat, a variegated manifestation of Sat, I am always combative with. Do I accept karma? No. Do I accept karma phala? No. Negative. Do I accept anything that comes? No. So I'm fighting shadows, like that character in the Spanish writer's book, Don Quixote. He was fighting with shadows. This is what I'm doing. I'm fighting with shadows because I don't know my own nature. And so it is counterproductive because I'm reproducing samsara repeatedly. It is counterproductive. Why? Because what I want is cessation of samsara. Even the person who doesn't know Vedanta wants this samsara to stop, but doesn't know how. Ends up exhausting themselves even more, like the tied up bird flying around and not getting anywhere. So completely ends up reproducing samsara, when what was the goal? The goal was to get away from samsara. But without knowing oneself, this is not possible. So this Sukha Dukkhadi Anubhava, because of this is only possible in the Jagrit state. And so I am tired, not because I am doing things, not because I am receiving karma phala, not because I am producing karma phala, receiving karma phala. I am tired because of my resistance to whatever comes. I am tired because I cannot be content with what is. The ever-rising ragadveshas, the never fulfilled ragadveshas keep rearing their head and keep me on my toes. So I am in the fight mode all the time. Fighting to make something happen for me. Fighting so that my life can change and be different. Different from what? The person doesn't even know perhaps. But it has to be different from this. Everybody wants to work from home, How is that possible? It's not possible. But then that's what one wants. And what will the boss say? No, you have to come in 6 days a week, not even 5 days a week. You have to come in. I don't want to do that. Therefore what? Dukkha. I don't want to do that. And then so many other things. Whatever I want, I don't get. Whatever I don't want comes in double helpings. Pujya Swamiji always used to say, anything you like is either illegal, unethical, or has too many calories, and you can't have it. So it seems like a setup where there is Ishvara's order in the form of this, as though variegated Sat, going forth in the form of not only Tejo Bannadinam, Tejaha up and Anna, these elements and these devatas, but also in the form of one's own karma phala, unfolding, unrolling like a carpet. It is there. This is what is Ishvaratvam. Ishvaratvam is the ability to dispense karma phala. Karma phala data is Ishvara, and the dispensing of karma phala on the part of Ishvara constitutes Ishvaratvam, and then the upabhoga of the karma phala on part of the jiva constitutes Jivatvam, a very important difference between Ishvara and jiva. Who makes the laws? Do I make the laws? No. Ishvara is in the form of the laws, including the law of karma. Why do we just keep talking about the law of karma? Because the law of geography, the law of anatomy, the law of psychology and all, we don't understand that well. But law of karma I understand very well. Intimately I understand. Where even a celebration can turn into a mourning at a drop of a hat. Yippee! Ow! There is a catch. Like this. So the law of karma I intimately understand. So what is the separating factor? As though separating factor in the mind of this one, the ajna, what is the separating factor between jiva and Ishvara? One is karma phala data, authority figure who is in charge of karma. Whose karma is it? My karma. It's like I am doing all the work and somebody gets to dispense the results. I do all the work and then somebody I wrap all the presents and then somebody gets to distribute the prize and then they get clap, clap, clap. Oh, thank you, chief guest. Somebody else is the chief guest. I am the grunt worker, man Friday, whatever you want, I am the gopher. And then the Gita gets all philosophical on us and says, Karmani eva adhikarahate ma phaleshu kadachana. Not fair, the jiva feels, the ajna, the jiva, not understanding that I am non-separate from Ishvara, takes this particular, this is what rankles the jiva, is that I am doing the hard work and this Ishvara, God only knows where this Ishvara is, some guy in the sky according to some theologies, and this Ishvara gets to give me, dispense to me my karma phala. So that the ability to dispense the karma phala is Ishvaratvam, superimposed as it were on that same Sat which is free of that superimposition of Ishvaratvam, and then on the receiving end is this jiva who is what? A whining person, all the time complaining. Complaining about two things. Complaining about the karma phala that was got, saying this must not be mine, you take it. This cannot be my karma phala, it must be yours. Or there has been some mistake. So the jiva the jivatvam is characterized by two things. One is the non-acceptance of the karma phala, and what is the second thing? Frantic efforts to do 2.0 of the same karma in different ways, hoping to get a different outcome this time. So when the karma phala comes, there is an alienation from the source that is experienced by the ajnani, and the ajnani then doubles down and says to oneself, what? I will do more. I will do more. This time I am going to do it differently. You wait and see. This time I will become successful. This time I will become famous. This time I will become wonderful. This is how the jivatvam and ishvaratvam, for the jivatvam on the side of tvam pada vichara and ishvaratvam on the side of tat pada analysis, this is how we have to understand. So including the dispensation of sleep, that is also what? Karma phala only. And so the jiva is tired because the jiva is in a mode of non-acceptance. Non-acceptance. So therefore what? Gets exhausted. Shranto bhavati. Tataha cha ayastanam karananam aneka vyapara nimitta glananam svavyaparebhyah uparamo bhavati. So then as a result of this complete and total exhaustion of what? Jiva is still kicking. What is not kicking is the body-mind sense complex. The body says, I'm done. You are an inexhaustible fount of wants. I'm done, says the eyes. I am done, say the ears. I am done, says the mind. So this is what is bringing us closer to the sleep state. And then Adi Shankara, so Svavyaparebhyah, from their individual transactions, what? So Ayastanam Karananam, Ayasta Karanas. So the Karanas means what? The various the Upakaranas, like the mind, the sense organs, etc. Then what happens? So all of them, Aneka Vyapara Nimitta Glananam. Glana means completely exhausted. They feel neglected. What? You're not taking care of me. You're not taking care of me. And so they feel diminished in power because of overuse of the eyes. If one eye doesn't work, the other eye you take and then you're looking at the device. When? In the middle of the night. No wonder sleep comes in Vedanta class. Why? Because the person is updating their status on Facebook. When? In the middle of the night. Or scrolling to see what is happening. This is called doom scrolling. No wonder the eyes are tired all the time and it's just, going, and the eyes get weaker and weaker. And then you're tired of going to the optometrist and you settle down thinking, if I see an elephant, it's good enough. I don't have to bother about seeing anything else. Small things, let it go. Sudden vairagya develops. Why? Because the karanas, these karananam, glanihi asti. Glani means just this, they are fed up, they are diminished, they are exhausted. And then what do they do as a result? They svavyaparebhyah uparamaha bhavati. So they withdraw from their activities. And of course, Adi Shankara has the whole Shruti in his head, and when he quotes, we have to sit up, because it's not like any other person quoting. The quote will be so apt. And here, from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, Shramyati eva vak, Shramyati chakshuhu. The Shruti here makes a wonderful displacement. And what is the displacement? The eyes are tired means what? The jiva is exhausted. So the eyes are tired because of doom scrolling, because of looking at devices too long. And then what else is tired? Speech is also tired. There is a limit to complaining. So the whole day, what has the jiva engaged? In complaining, in resisting. And all that resistance has come out in the form of sleep. In the form of speech. I'm not going to tolerate this. I don't like this. I'm not going to do this. I am somebody too, All these are various speeches. And then one has complained till one is hoarse. Like the child, like the neglected child that cries until it is hoarse. One has complained until it's hoarse. And speech also has a mind of its own here. And then what does the speech says? Enough. Enough. I'm not going to talk anymore. Enough. I can't talk anymore. I have laryngitis. I'm not going to talk, says speech. So in this way, all the karanas are on strike. They just say, we are not cooperating with your inexhaustible wants, and you're running from direction to direction in a futile way. And then what happens? Ityevam adi. So then after that, the speech and the mind and all the karanas, the speech, mind and the sense organs rest in the prana. They come to rest. What is this prana? Prana is also Sat Devata only. So we can either say directly prana or we can say Sat. Doesn't matter. So the interim resting place here is called prana, but really speaking, they are resting in Sat. So all the body parts and the minds and the accoutrements which make cognition possible, which make resistance possible, are all what? Gone to a place of rest. And then again he quotes the other Shruti, same Upanishad, but another area of the Shruti. Grihita vak, grihitam chakshuhu, grihitam shrotram, grihitam manaha, iti evamadini karanani pranagrastani. Evamadini pranagrastani karanani. So in this manner what happens? They all go into repose and they are resting in prana, because they cannot any longer keep up with this mad person's desires and everything. So the jiva's desires don't come to an end, but the karanas which are employed for the fulfillment of the jiva's desires definitely come to an end. They definitely come to an end, they exhaust themselves, and then at that time when they rest in the mind, they are called what? Grihita. The speech has been captured, grihita, captured by the prana. It has come to rest in the prana. Grihitam shrotram, grihitam manaha, grihita vak. So like this, all the karanas are now resting in prana. What about prana? Prana also goes to sleep? No, it cannot afford to go to sleep. The only thing within the body-mind-sense complex of this tired, jaded, faded, tired jiva, the only thing that is awake is what? Prana. If prana also went to sleep, then there would be no more Vedanta needed for that person. So prana doesn't go to sleep. And in fact, there is in this same Upanishad, in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, in this section, there is a Akhyayika, a story where there is a competition between the sense organs and the prana. So the sense organs and organs of action, all of them, they have a competition. And then they say, I am the best, east or west. Without me, this jiva, this fellow cannot function. So like this, then they decide, let that which feels that the jiva cannot live without, let that particular function go away for 1 year and then come back. Chakshu goes away for 1 year, takes a sabbatical. 1 year it does not come back at all, and then it says, serve them right, look at this, and then they will just be dying for me, let me go back and see what happened. Everything is business as usual. The only difference is the jiva has a red and white stick, that's all. Everything is as usual. The jiva has not missed out on anything, everything is happening as usual. In fact, the eyes are not critical to the functioning of the jiva at all. The ears go, same thing happens. The ears also return disappointed. And then finally, prana gets ready to go. Prana packs up. Udana Vayu says to the other pranas, come on boys, let's pack up and leave. And immediately all the sense organs say, no, we depend on you. Don't leave us like this. Don't go. So it is very clear that the prana has a different status among all the karanas, and that is also pointed out here as what? So iti evamadini karanani pranagrastani. They are all caught by the prana, they are all resting in the prana. Pranaha ekaha ashrantaha. Ashrantaha means non-tired entity. All of them are tired. Why? Because reproducing samsara is exhausting. This is what the Upanishad wants us to know by the sleep analysis of the Ajnani. Reproducing samsara is the most exhausting thing in the whole entire universe. And so therefore what? Therefore, please don't do that. Please awaken to your own nature. That is the purport of this section. And so therefore everything gets caught in prana, and the prana alone is functioning ashrantah. It cannot afford to be asleep. It cannot afford to rest. Like a security guard guarding a property. Cannot afford to rest because robbers may come and take it away. And then so therefore the prana also is guarding here the body-mind-sense complex, and the prana is keeping the body-mind-sense complex going. So the prana alone is what? Ashrantah. Everything else, shrantaha. So all of them are shranta. This alone one is ashrantah. And then what? A very beautiful illustration Adi Shankara presents us with. देहे कुलाये यह जागर्ति. यह जागर्ति. So then what is that? So dehe means in the body, dehe. And what is that deha? Kulaye. Kulaya means nest. Another word for needam, nest. So kulaya means nest. So the body is the nest for this jiva's rest. That is the idea. And you see, he uses the word kulaya because what is going to come next is the bird imagery. So like a bird coming home to roost at the end of the day, back to its nest. It will be flying around, chirping, doing things, getting food for its babies, fighting with other birds. God only knows what else is it doing. Enlightening everybody who sits under the tree, all that it does. And then what? And then it comes back to roost in its own nest. Similarly, this jiva, not by its own choice, but because of the exhausted karanas, flies around everywhere trying to fulfill its desires, reproducing samsara, unaware of its own nature as Sat Swarupa, unaware that it is in fact the architect of everything in the Jagat, starting with the elements, unaware that I am Sat Devata. Unaware of that, what happens? The jiva also finally, the indweller of this body, which is what? Which is Atma, but here identified with all the finite things, comes to be known as jiva. So deha avachinna chaitanya, which is the person doesn't know. I'm as though conditioned by this body-mind-sense complex. The person is anavagata, not knowing that somehow repeatedly every night or each time the sleep experience is there, goes and visits the sleep state. And then what? So then to get rid of this exhaustion. To get rid of this exhaustion, the jiva enters the sleep state, forcibly enters the sleep state, because all the accoutrements of the jiva stop cooperating in this mad rush to acquire something or the other. In this mad rush to remove oneself from samsara, does not do that, is not able to do that, so comes home and yaha jagarti. So comes home. So everything comes home, and the prana alone keeps awake here in the sleep state, in the abode which is the body. Then what happens? Tada jivaha shrama apanuttaye swam devata rupam atmanam pratipadyate. Then the jiva attains its swarupa, its form. Pratipadyate, attains. The jiva attains oneness with Sat. What kind of a oneness? An accidental oneness here, because the person doesn't know. Has somehow slipped into Sat, devoid of the identification with names and forms. It is not a cognitive change. It is just a slipping into this place out of sheer exhaustion of all options, including all the karanas of the body. So slips into this state, and for what purpose? Shrama apanodanaya, Shrama apanuttaye, in order to get relief from exhaustion. In order to get relief from exhaustion. Tada jivaha shrama apanuttaye swam devata rupam atmanam pratipadyate. So atmanam pratipadyate. And then this is very well known even among the non-Vedantins. Among the lay people's analysis of sleep also, this is well understood. You are tired. People will say to one another, please take some rest. Go to sleep. Please go to sleep. Everybody knows sleep is a form of mini moksha. Everybody knows. Moksha from what? From whatever is ailing the person. There is a cessation of that in sleep, and there is a recharging of all the sense organs in sleep, so that when one wakes up, one can be strong enough again to what? Reproduce samsara. To reproduce samsara, one needs energy. And so the sleep becomes a place of rest, and the rest of cessation of activity. And the cessation of activity without any cognitive change, what does it do? After the waking up, and again the karma phala wakes one up, the prarabdha wakes one up, and one is at it all over again. Like the bird that is caught with the string, exhausted, it sleeps. When it wakes up, what does it do? Forgets that it is bound, flies again, tries to fly again from direction to direction. So like this. So then he concludes this very beautifully. Na anyatra swarupa avasthanat. Swarupa avasthanat anyatra Shrama apanodah syaditi yukta prasiddhi laukikanam swam apito bhavati iti. Swam hi apito bhavati iti. So he looks at it very, very beautifully. What does he say? He says, Swarupa avasthanat anyatra. Anyatra means other than. Swarupa avasthanat anyatra. Other than coming home to oneself, there is no other way of removing exhaustion. This is a very big statement. Coming home to one's own swarupa, abiding in one's own swarupa, drashtuhu swarupe avasthanam, which is seen as moksha. But here it is a baby moksha, an accidental moksha, which is not based on a temporary moksha, because it is not based on the necessary cognitive shift in understanding of oneself. And the conscious neti non-identification, disidentification with the body-mind sense complex. It is not accompanied by Vedanta Shravanam. So therefore it's a temporary moksha. But even there, even the temporary moksha is achieved how? Same as permanent moksha. The mechanism is one and the same. If you want temporary moksha, also you have to abide in your swarupa. If you want permanent moksha, also you have to recognize that you are already abiding in your swarupa. That's the only difference. So whether the moksha is temporary or permanent, or it necessitates coming home. Coming home to what? That which is indicated in the Mandukya Upanishad as Om. Coming home, that is what it is. Coming home to that which is free of all name and form, understanding that Satchidananda as the truth of oneself, understanding that one is not connected to this body-mind sense complex, etc. This is the coming home. And so here, Swarupa avasthanat anyatra shrama apanodah nasyat. That's the na which is there in the beginning has to be brought here. Nasyat. Iti yukta. It is well known, and it is appropriate that it is well known even in the non-Vedanta world, even in the lay people's world, that other than coming home to oneself, there is no other rest possible. Rest is not possible. Why is rest not possible? Because there is duality. So let's say I want to rest. So what will I do? I will go to a hotel. Let us say I want to go to a hotel and just sleep. I want to rest. So the hotel is what? Me or other than me? Other than me. So there's already a duality. You see that? So even if I say I'm going to rest in this particular location, the location, if it is other than the person, what happens? There is duality. And duality is a place of strife. Duality can never be a place of rest. Non-duality alone is a place of rest because one is at home with oneself. One is truly at home with oneself because duality means you have to deal with it. And so all the other karanas that were sleeping have to wake up because the bed is lumpy and the hotel is not very nice. All these things one has to, and the vacation went south. The vacation did not go. However, I wanted the vacation to go. So any other resting place is not a resting place at all. The true rest is one's own self, falling back on that Sat, from which all these names and forms have come, by which all these names and forms are sustained, unto which all the names and forms collapse, attain oneness with, resolve. That alone is my nature. That alone is the truth of myself. And so that is my source, and my source is my home. And there alone one can rest. Even the one unlettered in Vedanta Shastra, who does not know Tat Tvam Asi, who does not know anything, also knows this, and it is proper. Adi Shankara says, and then iti yukta swamhi apito bhavati. And then there is also another example he gives. Drishyate hi loke. Further, he says, it is seen. What is seen in the world? Jvaradi rogagrastanam tad vinirmoke svatmasthanam vishramanam tadvat iha pisyat iti yuktam. So one is the example of sleep, which we have seen in detail. Even sleep is a homecoming for who? Ajnani also. For the Ajnani also, sleep is a nimitta for homecoming, and then the people who don't know Vedanta, all the samsaris also say, please go to sleep, you will feel better, because they know this much, that swatma avasthanat anyatra shrama apanodah nasyat. They know this, that they know that there is no relief from from samsara, from this tiredness, other than coming home to oneself. Another small illustration is given before we go to the next whatever. What is that illustration? The illustration is as follows. Rogagrastana. Somebody who has fever, flu, some respiratory virus, stomach trouble, etc. Rogagrasta, somehow sick. So the sick person also, what happens to the sick person? The sick person also, tad vinirmoke. So when the person is sick, what happens? They are suffering, they are agitated, they are not able to rest because they are having fever, etc. And then what happens? They withdraw from the world. Temporarily, you see them also withdrawing from the world. They say, I don't feel like it. And even if you offer them their favorite activity, let's go to the movies. No. Here is a piece of chocolate cake. Yuck, I don't want it. Can't even look at it. Here is your favorite people in the world. Come, let's go have a party. Let's go have to a cafe. All this doesn't interest them. What do they want to do? Go back to themselves and rest in order to feel better. So too, the one who is grasta with samsara roga. So here, who is this person? Who is this ajnani? The ajnani is also a diseased person. What is that? Bhavaroga, bhavarogi. Bhava means becoming. So the disease of becoming. The disease of becoming is called samsara. Pujya Swamiji's very apt expression. The life of becoming, he used to say, is samsara. Here, Adi Shankara calls it the disease of becoming. And it's a very addictive disease, a chronic disease for which in the samsara there is no respite, there is absolutely no relief. Why? Because in the samsara what gets reproduced is more samsara. That's all it is. So the disease of samsara is called the disease of becoming because there is endless becoming. I want to become famous. I want to become rich. I want to become something or the other. Successful. And when you become rich, successful and famous, does that stop? No. I want to become richer. I want to become more famous. I want to become more and more and more. Dil mange more. This is the Coca-Cola advertisement. The heart wants more. All the time the heart wants more and more and more and more. What kind of a heart? A non-Vedantic heart. And so the rest, why this is in such great detail taken? Because the enforced rest which the sick person gets and which the tired person gets, the Vedanta study can give this rest when? All the time. Therefore, doing, pashyan, shrinvan, swapan, shwasan, pralapan, visrujan, grinhan, unmishan, nimishan api, navadvare pure dehi, naiva kurvan, nakaryan, karayan, sukham, aste. The person remains happily even in this imperfect body, imperfect karanas, imperfect mind, doing everything and yet not doing at all. So the doership is samsara because that is what causes one to become one thing or the other. Or doership is not samsara, the addiction to doership, the identification with I am the doer, iti, this kind of a thing is samsara. And so why this sick person example is given? Because this is bhavaroga. Bhavaroga, see, if you have any other roga, there is a series of doctors, specialists. From neurologist to podiatrist, from head to toe, they are all waiting for you. Eventually they will deliver themselves unto me, they know. And so they are all there. And the specialties are only keeping on increasing day by day. So for samsara roga, where will you go? Prathamo daivyo bhishak. Where does that come? Which chapter of Bhagavad Gita? Rudram. In the Rudram. Prathamo daivyo bhishak. So we need a special doctor. The doctor of samsara cannot be part of samsara. The doctor of samsara must not be succumbing to samsara. Only then they can heal me. And who is that? Bhagavan. Samsarologist. Yes, you have neurologist, you have so many other specialists. This is Bhagavan is who? Samsarologist. And then the samsarologist gives some pills. And what are the pills? Mahavakya pills. Take this 3 times a day, 3 classes a day, okay? Yeah. Take this 3 times a day. Mahavakya Upadesha is the pill for samsara nivrittihi once and for all. There's a very nice, what is that? song composed by, I think, Guru Arjun Singh, or maybe it is Guru Nanak, I don't know. And then it says that, Mera Ved Guru Govinda. The Guru who is Govinda or Guru Gobind Singh, whichever is being talked about here. So, the Mera Ved means my personal physician. Who is my primary care physician? Guru Govinda. Mera Ved Guru Govinda. Hari Naam ka okhad rakho. Okhad means aushadhi. What is the pill? The pill is in the form of Harinama. Harinama Japa is the pill. And what did this doctor do? Put the pill on my tongue. Kaate janam ka phanda. Means the whole rigmarole of life after life after life is just cut with this. So what is this Harinama? The Harinama is preparatory upasana for Vedanta Shastra, or the understanding of who Hari is. That could be the pill, because of which the feverish here, that's why the samsara is very beautiful, apt to call it fever, because the feverishness is because of the frantic way in which the pursuits unfold and take place. I can't pursue something easily, happily, slowly, and relax leisurely, with relaxation. I have to pursue it fast, quick, right now. What is the urgency? Urgency is the pressure. The pressure that is there by the raga dveshas. That's why people don't understand this very easily. Because in the Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan says, Kamosmi Bharatarshava, I am in the form of desire. And so favorite satsang question is, if Bhagavan is desire, then why should I remove desire? Why should I lessen the desire? Why Vedanta talks so much about desire? We have to read the fine print. Dharma aviruddha bhuteshu kamosmi he bharatarshabha. I am in the form of that desire which does not transgress dharma in any way. And then that desire is okay, but frequently what happens, the desire exerts a pressure called again in the Bhagavad Gita as Vega. Vega. And that pressure makes one to, to transgress, go against my own value systems that I have enshrined as important to me. Makes me go against all that. Makes me go against dharma. This is what is called samsara jvara, the chronic condition of discontentment. Demanding, I am a discontented, demanding, non-accommodative, judgmental being. This is what is the samsari. This is what is jvara. And the only antidote to this is Vedanta Shastra, and that's why in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad there is a fabulous statement that says, Atmanam ched vijaniyat. Chet means if. If one were to know the Atma, why does the Shruti says if? And why not the Shruti says when? Because the Shruti concedes ati sukshmatvat, people may not know. Durvijneyatvat, people may not know, or they may choose to not know because they are not interested in that. But for those who are qualified and who do come to know, if one comes to know the Atma, Atmanam ched vijaniyat, ayam asmi iti purushaha. If the person says, ayam asmi, aham idam sarvam asmi, everything is this alone. This Sat alone is everything. I am separate from this Sat, iti purushaha. Then, tat kimartham, for what purpose? Kasya kamaya, to fulfill whose desire? Shariram anusanjvaret, will one put the body through a feverish series of activities. Beautiful quote. Absolutely wonderful quote. Based on this quote is the entire 7th chapter of Panchadashi. The Panchadashikara, Swami Vidyaranya, has unfolded this in no less than 295 verses. So you can imagine how important this Vakya is. Because this has been unfolded in no less than 295 verses. The whole 7th chapter is an unfoldment of this particular verse. Amazing it is. Kimartham kasya kamaya shariram anusanjvaret. Anu means in keeping with all the kamas, in keeping with all the habitual orientations. But here there is no kama because I know I'm everything. Atmanam ched vijaniyat. Then tada kimartham, for what purpose? It is all activity is futile. Futile. One is constantly in repose. One does not have to just get into this feverish place and then go to sleep. No need. One is constantly at rest. One is constantly at home. So to fulfill what desire, for what purpose will I put this body through this feverish unleashing of this feverish set of activities? And so, therefore what? So therefore this Jwaragrasta example is also very, very apt. And then he concludes and he says, so then what is? Tadvat iha pisyat iti yuktam. Tadyatha, and then he quotes the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, setting us up for this whole Shakuni, the tethered bird example. Tadyatha, Shyeno va, Suparno va, Viparipatya, Shrantaha, Brihadaranyake. So, iti Shrutescha. So again in the Maitreyi Brahmana of the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, there is a sentence, and this must be a pervasive metaphor. Shyeno va, Gridhro va, what else is there? Not Gridhra, Suparno va, Shyeno va, Shyena falcon, Suparna eagle, or any other bird, you can say, some pakshi. So just like that, after it flies around and then it is exhausted. Similarly, the jiva is what? Totally exhausted. Why? By doing the futile action of converting the finite into infinite. Because of this futile action, the jiva also literally drops asleep. Drops into sleep, forcefully is made to go home. You know, like how in kindergarten the children are told, preschool and all that, put your head on your desk, go to sleep. And the child says, I don't want to go to sleep. No, you have to go to sleep. And even the protesting child after a while just succumbs and goes to sleep because the teacher is looking like that. You have to go to sleep. And this is very common in India. Here they are like, oh, do whatever you want. In India, all that doesn't fly. So, put your head on your desk, go to sleep. This is an enforced nap. And so for the poor jiva also, exhausted by reproducing the finite infinitely, that is also exhausting. And then because of that, forcibly goes to sleep like a bird on a string. More we'll see in the afternoon. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om.